Welcome at the Bonsai Empire stand. We have mini lectures today with Mauro. Mauro is going to talk about Yamadori collection today.
Bonsai Dream.
So enjoy.
Okay guys, thank you Oscar for inviting me also this year for a little lecture. This morning we are talking a little bit about Yamadori collection. So probably every one of you knows that I go pretty much in the mountain and collect some trees for myself and for my clients. So I would like to talk about this topic that sometimes is a little bit tricky for people, because I have email all the time asking me how you can collect these big trees and make them survive, how you can go successfully in the mountain and collect the deciduous tree, and seems all of them make it. So let's first say that collecting conifer or collecting the deciduous tree are two different things, because they need completely different ways to recover after collection. So let's talk about conifer first. Conifer or evergreen, they need to be collected with as many roots as possible, because the roots are supporting the green. So the power of the tree is always in the roots. And this we have also to remember when we grow trees in pots, okay? So when I go in the mountain, I find the trees that are suitable for collection, and this is another point that is very important. When I go for conifer, I never collect the conifer if I feel they have not enough roots to survive. Most of the time I look for trees that are in natural rock pockets or on top of rocks or in the soil that is standing in top of rocks. These make roots going in the horizontal way and creating a compact root ball, rather than go in full ground. So for example, sometimes we find larches or spruces in open ground in the mountain when the forest was cut away and then the trees start to regrow. In that parts are more difficult to collect because the roots tend to go down. The priority of the trees in nature, when they can do it, is to stand. As much as they can shoot roots down, those roots help the tree to stand up and grow in this direction. But if they can't grow roots down, they know they can just survive growing in the horizontal way. So they create bushes. That's the reason why in the mountain where I go collect mugo pines or in Spain where they collect sabina tend to be bushy, because they have no chance to shoot down the top roots and stand. Okay, this happens for many trees. So for those trees, we dig around the hole, we see if we have bigger roots or smaller roots around, and then we try to take as many roots as possible. When I bring the trees home, I have to keep some of the original soil that most of the time is not suitable for growing trees in the pot, because trees grows in very harsh weather, so the soil hold a lot of moisture. This is the example of mugo pines, for example. They basically grow in their own decomposite leaves soil that is very acid and hold a lot of moisture, because during the season they are out on top of rocks and they try to hold the moisture with the crown, and also having this type of soil that naturally hold moisture. So that soil is very bad for the bonsai purpose, because we know we want to water our trees every day. I can't remove directly that soil from my pines, because another thing, pines grow together with mycorrhiza. So when we collected pines in the mountain, we see in the soil this white dust, or can be also yellow according to the type of environment. and this helps the trees to absorb nutrients from the ground. The same mycorrhiza is also inside of the pots when we grow trees for bonsai. The problem, if I collect the pine from the nature and I clean the roots, I give too much stress. If the tree is very old, it's not able to recover after this cleaning. So I have to remove the soil along the time in 2, 3 or 4 years. Every year or every 2 years, I take the tree out of the pot, I remove some of the old soil and I add the new soil. So the new roots can develop in pumice or akadama or perlite or volcanic soil, whatever very big soil you want, but has to be very airy. So has to allow the air to go inside of the pot from the holes, because we need aeration to not hold the moisture that can give problem to the roots. This is one of the bigger problem with Yamadori, that people collect pot and then they start watering as a normal bonsai. So some part of the roots are in the new soil and they absorb the moisture in a certain way, but the roots that are in the original soil that tend to be dry in the mountain, but then we keep too much moisture, the roots, the fine roots start dying and we can kill the tree. This is one of the bigger problems. So we collect the tree, we pot in pumice, and then after 2 years, when we see that the tree is recovered, we start removing the original soil. That's the best advice. Don't water the tree. My tree, my Yamadori, I water maybe once a week during the season. Even in summer, once a week, maybe twice is if we have some kind of hot weather together with wind that can dry out the trees. But not more. Don't water your Yamadori if they are still with the original soil every day as you do for your normal tree that you are growing in pure pumice or pure akadama or a mix. That's the most important thing to do. Another thing, juniper, differently from pine, when we collect, they absorb a lot of moisture from the foliage as well. So, if when we collect the juniper, we can set up a misting system. This is something we do especially in US, in California, or other places where generally are very dry, the air is very dry. Dry air or wind, hot wind, can really dry out the foliage of trees that still have to rebuild the system between soil, so roots, and green. So if we keep during the hottest hour of the day those trees a little bit moister, they can absorb nutrients, moisture from the air, and this helps the tree to recover. It's especially good for junipers in general. Especially, for example, in LA, we collect California juniper with almost no roots. That could seem a problem, but they are so strong that they can absorb moisture from the foliage and then they start shooting roots. They are trees used to grow in extreme dry environment in the desert, and they only shoot roots in the rainy season. So they get a week of rain, maybe in a year, and this is the only week they shoot fine roots to absorb moisture from the ground as fast as possible. Otherwise, they have this very thick foliage, because with the foliage, in every morning when in the desert the temperature passes from very cold to very warm, they have this point where the moisture in the air deposit in the foliage and then they start absorbing. So we use this with the misting system to try to make them survive. It's one of the most difficult species I have ever collected, the California juniper, but it's a very strong tree, so it can survive. Different from other juniper like Sierra or Sabina, where we have to take some roots from the collection otherwise the tree is not going to survive. People who collect Sabina juniper in Spain most of the time can clean the roots straight away after collection because they don't want any original soil from the collection already in the first step of the life of the tree in a pot, because the soil is very bad. And for juniper is not a problem because they don't grow with mycorrhiza like pines, so it's possible to clean the roots if they have nice fine roots that can already absorb nutrients from the new soil. Different story is with the Deciduous tree. I collect most of all Quercus. This is a Quercus robur that we collected probably 5 years ago in the center part of Italy. So you know Italy is a kind of a boot. We have a mountain that is called Appennino that is cutting Italy and splitting the boot in two, the two coasts. In the Appennino, that the highest is around 1,000 meters, 1,200 meters the maximum. Quercus grows like pines. So again, they are not able to shoot roots down because they grow in clay, and under like 15-20 centimeters of clay there is just rock. So they shoot side roots and they keep snaking in the soil and they get this crazy movement. So for this tree we don't collect almost any root ball because it's impossible. The clay is very bad, they have only side roots very thick, but the part from the base and the first 10-15 centimeters of the roots, even if they are just big, is called rhizogen area. It's an area where the cells of the wood are very active. So if they get in contact with moisture, they can transform themselves in new fine roots. So we use that particularity of the Quercus, and this is something that is also present in olives or other type of deciduous tree like Carpinus, and can help the tree to survive after the recollection. So as I said, for example, this tree when it was collected almost had no roots. But what we do is we pot them in pumice and perlite and we put a black plastic bag on top of the tree. So we collect this tree during winter, differently from conifers that we collect in spring when the tree is already pushing out the energy. Because if we collect in winter, the tree is dormant and it has to stay dormant a long time, so 2 or 3 months before the flash in spring. So for conifers, it's very dangerous to collect in the middle of winter. But for deciduous tree, and especially Quercus, is the best period. So from November to January, where I can't go collect a conifer, I go collect Quercus. And then I pack with black plastic bags and I store in a greenhouse. So I obligate the tree to hold all the moisture in the trunk. So no light touch the tree, and the tree is sealed inside of this greenhouse, in the greenhouse. So also the tree don't go in a lower temperature that can eventually freeze the water. Okay? What's happened? The natural reaction of the tree of being in dark is changing the buds and the cell of the wood, the younger wood, in buds. So it's gonna start budding back in the foliage, in the branches, and it's gonna shoot roots in this rhizogen area inside of the root ball or in the base of the trunk. And it's gonna start using that moisture that the tree has inside already to try to survive. If I take away the bag straight away, I give a stress to the tree because it's gonna pass from a deeply wet environment to a drier environment. So the tree is gonna collapse. So I need to wait and give the time to the tree to elongate, to shoot some foliage, and in the meantime shoot some roots, and then I can change my plastic bag from black to transparent. So I start giving light to the tree. The light is helping the new leaves that were developed in dark to start photosynthesize the light and help also all the circle restart. Still not time to put the tree outside. I still have to keep the tree in the greenhouse because wind or too much sun can again give a stress to the tree. It's a process in steps. So it takes from start of spring when I start taking away the black bag and see if the tree start budding, at least 2 months until maybe start of May, that I can have the tree outside but still under a shade cloth. So the first year of life of the quercus after a collection is under a shade cloth because the very hot wind or hot sun they can really damage and kill the tree because the tree is just living with few fine new roots. And then the tree need 1, 2 or 3 years to start growing and become strong. So this, for example, is like 5 or 4 years from a recollection. Differently from a conifer that you can already see after a few months that the tree is shooting because if we collect in spring, the tree will be already pushing out new buds for if it's a pine or start a little elongating if it's a sabina. There is any question? Very good.
How important is Yamadori collection for bonsai?
Sorry again?
How important is the
Important?
bonsai? Yeah.
So, you know there are many ways to do bonsai. You can start from seed, you can start from cutting, you can start from air layer, you can grow trees and go on a nursery. My opinion, and if you go on a show like this and you analyze the percentage of trees in the show, most of them and most of the most impressive trees are Yamadori. We can't artificially reproduce what nature does in many years of growing in a very harsh and difficult environment. Pines with dead wood, Sabina with dead wood and twist, live lines, twisty part on a quercus is very difficult. If you grow maples or other elegant deciduous tree, the best way or one of the best way is to grow them from seed because you can correct along the way all the defect and get kind of the perfect shape bonsai. But for conifer, what is nice is the imperfection. So what's the best maker of the imperfection than nature? So we go in nature and I try to find the weakest tree, the craziest tree, and then use them to make beautiful bonsai. I have a Scots pine in the show. That tree was found in a higher elevation, in a rocky place, and that tree probably was growing between the rocks for 500 years, with avalanches and rocks sliding on top of the trunk and creating a dead wood that even the best carver in the world can't mimic, because, so using what nature gives us and then putting art ourselves to shape the tree, we can create a beautiful bonsai. That's my point of view. Then there is the kind of the difficult part of the recollection, that is the part about permission. We know that we can collect in private land, we can collect in state land, and we can collect in parks. For example, for my area, I have a permission from the local forestry office where I can go in some parts and I can collect trees that are not of, they call forestry interest. If there is an avalanche and some trees are growing in the middle of the rocks, they are not interested on that trees. They are interested on big trees that can hold the soil and don't allow the soil to collapse if there is too much water, there is too much snow or something like that. But those trees are not interested in that. So I was able to get the permission. Other time, for example, in other countries like France, they have a lot of private land. So there are farmers, they own their soil where they grow their corns or they grow cows, and then they have some forest. So we go there, we ask the permission, and if they agree, we go and spot for trees. In US, for example, the system, in my opinion, works better than in Europe. You go from the landlord or to the office that is responsible for the land, and you can buy tickets. For example, Wyoming, state of Wyoming, allowed you to buy tickets for $25 per tree. You go out, you spot for tree without no one, you collect, and then you put a tag on your tree. So in case you are driving back home or there are checking points with the forestry office in this land, they check, you collect the tree, you have the tags, and everything is fine. Then there is the illegal way. You go whatever you want, you collect, and you hope no one sees you and no one stops you. You choose. Any other question? Very good. Thomas? So, I basically use pumice and perlite for all my collected trees. Then, along the line, when the tree starts being worked, I try to get the tree basically in pure pumice, and then when I start putting the tree in a bonsai container, I start changing pumice with akadama. For my place, this is the way that works better. I don't need to hold moisture, so I don't need to put any type of soil like lava rocks, hold a little bit more moisture than pumice or akadama. So if you grow trees in a very dry place and you want to hold a little bit more moisture, my advice is to use 1% of lava rock as well. In the US, for example, one of the main thought is 1-1-1 akadama, pumice, and lava rocks. Then I always say is a good general advice. Then according to the different area and the different climate, you have to put more or less soil that hold the moisture, because if you go from California, that is extremely dry, and we still grow some of the California juniper in DG, that is the composite granite, we move in the other side, your side, Massachusetts or other countries, and you need to have a little bit more airly soil because you have already a lot of moisture, especially during the autumn, winter and spring season. Same is here in Europe. People growing trees in the Mediterranean areas, or people growing trees in northern area where is a little bit more moisture. So this is a balance you have to find out along the way you start growing your trees. Any other question? Laurent, you have a question? Okay, good question. The first year after recollection, I don't fertilize my Yamadori at all. Originally, I was spraying my tree with hormones or microelements because my thought is that the first year after recollection, the roots of the tree are still weak and the tree is growing just a little fine roots. And I risk if I fertilize, the fertilizer can burn my finer roots. So I just leave the tree free to go and expand its roots in the new surface and spot for nutriment, because it's what the tree normally does in nature. The tree grows roots and then it go and spot for nutriments that it needs. So the same he does in the pot. But if he finds only pumice or other soil that is a neutral soil, he just keeps shooting roots. That is something I really want the tree to do. As many roots it can produce in a shorter period of time, better will be for the tree after, when I start fertilize, to absorb. Okay? So the first year, no fertilize at all. Then what I do? I use a fertilizer that is called Prodigy, that is very, very high in nitrogen. We know nitrogen is one of the elements that make the tree grow, elongate. So I don't care to give a lot of energy to the tree because I want the tree to become stronger, faster as possible so that I can start working on the tree. One thing is having a tree survive to recollection. One thing is having the tree ready to be styled. So, for example, in Scots pine, first year, no fertilizer. Second year, I start with Prodigy, and then I see the reaction of the tree. So, for example, the Scots pine make a bigger needle, start having more than one bud at the end. So when I see the tree stronger, it depends on tree. Some tree react faster because they are younger, or when I collected they had more fine roots. Star trees need more time. I have to look, there is not a rule. When I feel that the tree is strong enough, 2, 3, 4 years, 6 years, for example, Mugo pines need more time than Scots pine to recover, I can start working on the trees. So, Prodigy, high nitrogen until I style the tree, and then since I start styling the tree, I slow down the nitrogen because I don't need more elongation and power, but I need the tree to develop more finer vegetation. So I start with a more balanced fertilizer like an Agocoro, BioGold, is up to you, and again, is according to the experience. And then I put the tree in the normal schedule to become a bonsai and to be grew like a bonsai in the future. I did, but sincerely I haven't feel the difference. Because when I collect a Scots pine, let's say that is the one growing more with mycorrhiza between the pines species, it has already mycorrhiza in the ground. And this mycorrhiza is as roots able in 1 or 2 years to already fill the new pots. It happened especially with perlite that the mycorrhiza create balls of mycorrhiza and perlites that I have to kind of crash and fill apart when I repot the tree in the first container, or I have to change the pot to work on the roots, because as well as we prepare a tree in the foliage, we have also to prepare a tree in the root ball, because it has to go on a pot one day. So if we start with a big container like this, slowly we have to reduce, and sometimes we have to cut roots. So we have also to see and reduce the mycorrhiza and refill the pot. So I always like to reuse whatever comes out from the previous repot and add to the next one. So every time there is an exchange and a new.
Thanks a lot, Mauro.
That's it?
Yeah, perfect, man.
All right, good. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you so much.
Bonsai Dream.